Hey guys, welcome and thank you for having me.
Dope, dude. All right, so what is wrong with the strategy tokens as they've been implemented so far, and what are you doing differently?
I guess I'd like to start with, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong, but this is a great experimentation place where people come and do new things, and that's where new ideas are born, and great new ideas either, win or die. And so we're doing something new. Yeah, obviously it's been framed a little bit against the existing incumbents, and we're doing something slightly different. Yeah, so I'll start with just describing a little bit about what we are, what we're doing. So for those who don't know about strategy tokens, they're effectively ERC20 fungibles that are built on top of a layer of NFTs. So think of it like you take a collection of NFT tokens, you throw them into a protocol as I guess like a treasury, and then you stick a fungible token on top, a bit like a meme coin. So in the case of punks, you buy a collection of punks, and then there's this punk token that sits on top that trades. As it trades, it generates tax. So a small amount of each trade goes into a tax. That tax then feeds into the system, buying some more punks. And then gradually these punks get sold off, and the money from selling them goes into buying back the token, pumping the price, and delivering value back to token holders. So what are we doing that's slightly different? That's, first of all, slightly lower tax. Second, a tax that can't be avoided. There's quite a lot of difficulty in building taxes on tokens, especially with some of the newer implementations. Uniswap v4 has this great hooks system. Unfortunately, what you can do is stick your tokens in a different pool and then the taxes don't apply. So we try to solve that one. And then the last iteration, I think, really is that we do auctions instead of sales. So I think the traditional model is you buy an NFT, you put it on the market for 20% above, and then you wait until it gets sold. But that doesn't always work where floor prices are not going up continuously. And we really believe that in order to keep this flywheel going and to keep generating the excitement behind the project and getting people engaged and trading, you need to make sure that the tokens keep moving. So we've adopted an auction model, for better or for worse. It's a new experiment, we'll see. And that means that these NFTs eventually always get sold. But they do, the auctions kind of expand in time horizon. So eventually they take quite a long time to come down to a sellable price. And as a result, the protocol keeps its treasury that really kind of secures its value. But people do know that eventually they will get sold. And so there's a bit of excitement about that new buy pressure hitting the market, volatility.
Can you talk more about how the auction mechanism works?
Yeah, sure. So our auction mechanism, it's actually configurable. So it's, part of our project, the idea is it's the community will be launching these themselves. We're going to seed it with a few that we start with. People will be able to set parameters, sort of, how they want the auction priced.
Is this initially at an NFT collection level, or is this at the MacroStrategy community level?
At the NFT collection level.
So kind of in the same way that Punkster has these individual strategy tokens for different collections, you'll have something similar.
Exactly. And in fact, we might have more than one per collection. We're just going to let the community decide. One really interesting riff on this is, obviously, I come from the Squiggle background, and that was partly why I got involved in this. Unfortunately, there was a bit of an issue around Squiggles because they sit... it's quite an interesting point, really. So Squiggles were launched on Artblocks with two other major tokens that share the same contract address. And back in the day when Snowfro was building the Artblocks platform, he really sort of saw the Artblocks contract as more of a kind of a global marketplace rather than one contract having one collection, as I think then evolved as being the norm. And this is good and bad, but it does mean that for some NFT composable things that assume that a contract address is an NFT, there can be some issues around that. So sadly, Construction Tokens and Genesis by DCA, also two great NFT projects. I'd strongly recommend people look into them as well. A lot of love for the Artblocks Day Zero stuff. You can't easily determine whether or not a token is one of the three just based on the contract address. So there's a bit of an issue there. And as a result, I sort of thought, well, if we were going to do Squiggle specific one? What would we need to do to make that work more specifically for the Squiggle community? And that's narrowing it by token ID. But with that idea, suddenly you get a whole load of other interesting opportunities. Like, for example, with squiggles, where you've got a whole range of different types. You've got the hypers, you've got the fuzzies. We could, in theory, have a fuzzy-specific strategy that just traded fuzzies for people who really love fuzzies. And that allows the depth of an NFT collection to come out because, for example, hypers trade for many multiples above normal squiggles, and they would just never really feature if you just had a floor-based strategy. And so we wanted to do some innovation there, building some complexity and excitement and help people kind of really engage with these collections.
So what is the innovation around the avoiding people just spinning up new pools and avoiding the tax?
Yeah, so this has always been a tricky one. So I originally hated the idea of taxes, and I was very much against any project that launched them. I tended to find it was the scammier end of the market would put taxes. And you know what? If you're building a decent project with a decent token, you should be able to make money without having to tax people trading it. But this particular idea is sort of an integral part of the mechanic of it. And I think if people know that it's the tax that drives the value back and the basic mechanic of how the project works, then as long as that's been announced up front and it's a reasonable value, then that's okay. So yeah, unfortunately with the EVM, it's hard. So what we've had to do is transfers get taxed, but we have a workaround. If you want to send your tokens to somebody else, you can sign a message saying that you're sending it and that you are a person, not a Uniswap pool.
Oh,
that means you get exempt from the tax and you can still transfer them out and back again. But if you're not doing that and you're interacting with a smart contract, then you're going to get taxed. And we've got slightly lower tax than some of the other models. Buying is 4% and selling is 8%. So it sort of roughly averages out at around 6%. And yeah, having to use old Uniswap technology for this to work very well. But if there's a will, there's a way, and you can innovate around most problems. Just takes a bit of ingenuity.
I'm interested in how you're bringing this to market. Obviously, MacroStrategy has a lot of mind share, have a bunch of tokens in the collections you're looking to go after. I think when you open your website, you have an incinerator countdown, register for airdrop. So clearly you're trying to get people excited for some speculative activity here. So curious how you're bringing this to market.
Yeah, so we currently have an incinerator that's about to go live today. And the idea behind that is you can take your MacroStrategy token, you can stick it in the incinerator and you get MacroStrategy back. So it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. To be honest, I absolutely love TokenWorks and the whole strategy thing. I've got a lot of love for those guys. They've created this really innovative new idea. People love it. We're operating in the same space, but we're not. We only have love for other builders who are innovating, really.
I mean, it feels like the airdrop is a bit of a divergence from the MacroStrategy world too. So I'm curious how does that play in?
Well, so there's this big incumbent project that's taken a lot of mind share. People love it. How do you break into a market like that? And I think for me, the only real way I could see doing that is trying to make something that was more community focused, maybe seen as less extractive. So another interesting twist on our project is we're giving away 51% of all the tokens to NFT holders. And when we launch each collection token, we're going to airdrop that out to holders of the NFTs. And then we also have rewards. So if you hold the NFT and you're part of the community and you want to get involved, you can stake your tokens, your collection tokens, in the same wallet that you hold an NFT. And that allows you bonuses and rewards as well. So our tax doesn't just go to buy new NFTs like the traditional model, it also goes to reward holders. And that drives value back to the community. And it really helps the NFT holders feel like they're involved and feel like they can be engaged and maybe they can vote on the mechanics and they can be part of it. And that was a really important thing to me. And then the other thing, I come from the punk and the squiggle community. I've decided I don't want to make any profits from punks or squiggles. They're my family. They've been there over the years supporting me. And so we're driving all of the protocol profits back from those two collections also into the pool to reward token holders as well. I think it's just about listening to what the community want, trying to get them excited, and focusing around the community rather than just extracting profits from it. And I think those are the projects that in the long run will succeed.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess timelines here, like when is this thing going live? And I know when I went to the website, I was kind of confused. I'm like, what am I doing with my NFT? I got squiggles, bold strategy. Ooh, maybe that's interesting to me. I'm assuming that the right thing for me to do if I want to be a part of this is to go and stake my tokens there to get myself some exposure to this airdrop. But you maybe put a fine point on that and let us know when this thing's launching.
So the airdrop registration ends today at 2 p.m. ET. So we haven't got very long. So if you can still jump in, it's macrostrategy.tech. Register for the free airdrop. And then this evening, we've got the incinerator starts where you can either deposit ETH or PunkStrategy token to get the other half of the MacroStrategy token. So there's no team allo, there's no investment allo. It's just only open sale and airdrop. That's the master token that sits at the top. And then that's going to run for a couple of weeks. After that, we'll start launching NFT tokens. Initially, a few curated ones. We want to go with squiggles first, just because the existing squiggle one's a bit broken and there's been some issues there. And really, the reason we started the project was just to do a new squiggle one. And then we're going to open it up. We'll add more. The community are going to be voting on which communities to add. And then eventually, we'll make it just anyone can add one. You can come and create your own. Think about the different mechanics, and there'll be some options there. We don't have dates for that yet, but we want to make sure that the main launch goes smoothly. And but you can come and join the Telegram channel. We're active on Twitter, always willing to engage with people and see what people want. And really, we just want to be community driven.
I'm in the Telegram chat because I've been intrigued. I think one of our early investors was the one who flagged this. The people are active. The people are active in there. So cool. I guess I should go stake my squiggles here.
I mean, I think maybe
you don't need to stake them. Just hold the squiggle. There's no. You can keep it in your wallet.
Nice.
I think maybe the most interesting piece here for me, almost, I think the auction makes sense. I think that's a good thing to go try, but it almost turns NFTs into like meme coin launch pads. Like, I think the idea that you can have many strategy tokens tied to an NFT collection. So it's not just like, Punk strategy. It's like you could create a Punk meme coin that has this economic tie into kind of the Punk ecosystem. And I think that could get interesting.
I think you just have to do many experiments, knowing that many of them will fail along the way. And eventually you'll probably hit one that people really love and want to engage in. And that's often not the one that on day one you imagined. So we're just keen to try and keep that experimentation going, innovating, and make sure that we're driven by what people want and what the community are suggesting. And then through hundreds of experiments going on in the space, eventually what's popular and what works surfaces to the top. And that's really our attitude and ethos to the whole thing. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Ark, for hanging out with us today. Seems
thanks a lot, guys.
For a bunch of big moves from you. So that is at MacroStrategy _ on X. You can see it down below here as well. Best of luck, man. Exciting
Thanks a lot.
ahead for you.
You take care, guys.